I'm good. Okay.
We don't see the group giving some kind of speech. However, this is not one of those weddings. It's just about all of you know I'm not normal. Therefore, if you expected a normal wedding, you were wrongly mistaken. This speech might be lengthy, so sit back, enjoy your dinner. Try to pay attention. But I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight for being here to share the most amazing day of our lives. Thank you to Chad and Chad for accepting the money I had to pay them to be at my wedding. It cost me a lot. Thank you to Danielle and Denise as well. Your check will be in the mail within 2 to 3 weeks. Thank you to Eric and Chris, who did a phenomenal job. Where are you, Eric and Chris? Checking pockets, purses, and any other bags when you all entered the church today. They did a great job. Thank you to Glenn and Cindy, who have treated me with nothing but respect from the very first day I met them. I look forward to spending the rest of my life in your family. Thank you to Christine's extended family as well for treating me the same. Thank you to all my family, my aunts, uncles, cousins, extended family, and friends, for putting up with me, for all the broken bones that I've caused some of you over the years, for not kicking me to the side of the curb when I was super annoying at family functions, and for being there for me whenever I needed you most. All of you in some way, shape, or form shaped who I am today. Thank you to my grandmother Grace, who has shown nothing but love throughout my life. I always look forward to coming over to your house for Sunday dinners and throughout various days during the summer when I was growing up. You always had the best toys, the best food in the refrigerator, and to this day there is no one that makes better spaghetti and meatballs than you. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my great-grandfather Joe, my Aunt Joni, and my other grandparents who are no longer with us today. My grandmother Alice, my grandfather Abadis, and my grandfather Joe. They also show nothing but love throughout my entire life. And there isn't a day that goes by where I don't think of them. Thank you to my parents for raising me the right way. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. They taught me respect, morals, values, and how to treat people the right way. If it wasn't for them, Christine wouldn't be able to marry the most amazing person on earth today. While you're sitting and eating, and probably not paying attention to most of what I'm saying, I want to bring you way back to the past and fill you in on how Christine and I met. Not many of you know the entire story, so we're going to go way back to the very first day. It all started with hot dogs and dinosaurs. Two things that couldn't go together any better, and the very things of what all fairy tales are made of. Christine and I met while working for the greatest company on earth, KinderCare. While I don't work for KinderCare anymore, I can say one thing, and that is I met Christine through there. For that, I am grateful. I had been working at KinderCare for about a year, and the very first time I saw Christine was when she came in for a working interview, exactly 1,500 days ago from today. At that time, I was a pre-kindergarten teacher. She came into my class to tell the assistant director she was done for the day. But the assistant director made her sit and observe a few more hours, or a few more minutes. It was right before lunch. We were transitioning the kids from circle time to the lunch tables. Now, people say the first impression lasts the longest, and you never get a second chance. Her first impression of me, it was me sitting on the row with 4-year-olds, singing a song about a hot dog, jumping up and down, getting fried in a pan and exploding. Now, clearly, as I said, this is the stuff that fairy tales are clearly made of. I can't begin to tell you how embarrassed I was. I didn't know if she would get hired, so I thought I would never see this girl again in my life. I figured it couldn't be too bad. This was my job. I had to do what I had to do. She would forget about me, I would forget about her, and life would move on. I was wrong. A few weeks later, I was in the front office making copies at the end of my shift. This day also happened to be Halloween, and everyone was able to wear costumes to work. When I get up front, who do I see? Christine, who was there to fill out papers to begin working at KinderCare. I remember the first time I saw her, I was singing a song about a hot dog exploding. It was my chance to make up for the embarrassing moment. Nothing could be wrong, or nothing could be worse, right? Wrong. I thought of everything I could to say to her. Nothing came out though, because I realized I was sitting up front making copies dressed up in a dinosaur costume. Again, clearly, stuff that fairy tales are made of. At this time, I wasn't thinking that I liked this girl. I wasn't thinking much, especially with my coworker. The first 2 impressions that she had of me were quite embarrassing. That was the beginning. We worked together for a long while, about a year. To be honest, we didn't talk much during that time. Maybe a few words here and there, but never a full conversation. However, when the time was right, I started talking to her on Facebook. Facebook turned into talking to each other at work. Talking to each other at work turned into more talking on Facebook. That eventually led to texting. And that led to more talking that eventually led to our first date at the movies. 3 more pages, guys. Bear with me. I like to talk. So now, here we are, the night of our first date. It's a rainy evening and it's 9:35 p.m. showing in the theater. Not sure why I picked such a late time, probably because I was broke and didn't want to have to pay for dinner. We were going to see Love Happens. I couldn't believe that this girl would still go on a date with me. After the first impression she got of me was singing a hot dog song, and the second impression was seeing me dressed in a dinosaur costume. After everything that had happened, this possibly couldn't get much worse, right? Wrong. On her way to the movies, Christine lost control of her car in the rain and got into a small car accident. So now we're pretty much 0 for 3. At this point, it's obvious to see this relationship was surely meant to be. When she called me, I was sitting in the parking lot of my car. I was drinking a soda because I was tired. I was afraid I was going to fall asleep during the movie. When the phone rang, I got excited and nervous because I thought she had arrived. However, she told me she crashed her car. I kind of thought she was lying and trying to get out of the date. So I offered to come to the crash site and help her out with anything she needed. She agreed to it, and I knew she wasn't lying. She told me that she was, and to plug it into my GPS. If you know me, I have no idea where directions are and where places are located. So when she said Waterbury, I thought it was 5 minutes away from Plainville. Plugged it into my GPS, and it said 25 minutes arrival time. And I was surprised when I saw it, but I still went there anyways. I drove to Waterbury, pulled up on the island where her car was. The cop yelled at me. I sped off, and that was the evening, and we texted until 3 o'clock at night. You notice the pattern, clearly what fairy tales are made of. Almost a week later, we finally did have our official first date at a different movie theater. Probably watched about 5 minutes of the movie. No, it's not what you're thinking. We were talking the entire time. We talked for another hour in the parking lot after, then another hour in the car before she finally kicked me out and said she had to go home. The first date led to a few more dates, and after about the 3rd or 4th date, I was ready to make this thing official and ask her to be my girlfriend. Here's where it gets good. I wanted it to be somewhat romantic, so I told her we were going to go for a long walk on the beach. My plan was that at some point on that long walk on the beach, hopefully with the sun setting, I would ask her to be my girlfriend. So on November 22nd, 2009, Christine met me at my house and we got into my car and drove to Old Saybrook. Here we are driving, and I was going to time it perfectly, so during our long walk, which I thought would be at least an hour, the sun would be setting and it would be perfect. I had spent a week on the internet researching the best spots to go to, and that was the most romantic thing that I could find. After seeing a few up-close photos, I had the perfect place in mind. Now before we continue, remember how I had the first 2 impressions of me were pretty bad, and our first official date didn't go so well. This had to go well, right? I couldn't be this unlucky. We got out of the car, got to the beach, parked in the parking lot, walked about 10 minutes to the beach, and when we reached the beach, I kid you not, the beach started at this end of the dance floor and ended at that wall right there. So for those of you who know Old Saybrook, it was Harvey's Beach. It might be the smallest beach I've ever seen. It shouldn't even be called the beach. Even worse is the fact that I spent countless summers there growing up with relatives who rented out cottages. So I didn't even know it, but that was that beach. So the long walk idea with the sun setting was thrown right out the window, and I had to improvise. I didn't have much time though because we set foot on the sand, and 10 steps later we were at the end of the beach. It was about 2:30 p.m. The sun wasn't setting for at least another 2 hours or so. Lucky for me, there was a long rock pier. We sat on it for a few hours talking, and the sun began to set. Here was my chance. I began to say some extra nice things to her, and she knew it was coming. She said, "Let's go back to the car." She later told me she didn't know what was coming. She tried to escape to see how it would react. I'm not sure how that worked out for her, though, since we're here today. So we got up. Now this trip was already a disaster because the beach being 10 steps long. This girl is probably thinking how ridiculous I am just based on our past encounters. It couldn't get much worse, right? I got up on the rock pier and I took a few steps onto some other rocks. I then had to take another step to get over another rock by stepping down a few feet onto a rock by the water. The only thing wrong is that there was seaweed all over this rock. I had to step on it, though I couldn't look like a wuss. Even though she knows I am today, I had to show her that I wasn't afraid of a little seaweed. However, when I stepped on it, I slipped, and I fell straight into the freezing ocean, right up to my knees. I struggled to get out of the water, and Christine was sitting on the rocks laughing in tears. I finally managed to get out and continued my trek to the shore in soaked shoes, socks, and jeans. When we got to the shore, we walked 8 steps and realized I only had 2 more steps to ask her. I stopped and asked her to be my girlfriend. With the sun setting, my pants completely soaked from falling in the ocean. She said yes, and we drove home and ate at her favorite restaurant, the Cheesecake Factory. During our 2.5-hour wait there, I made it official by updating my relationship status on Facebook. So all of nothing's official until it's on Facebook. I did update it tonight, but she hasn't approved it yet. Hopefully she does pretty soon. We dated for almost about 2 years. We made many great memories and had a great time learning about each other. I told her that I knew 1 week after we started dating that we would get married someday. She doesn't believe me, but it's true. After 1 week of dating, I knew we would get married, and here we are today. It was the end of summer of 2011, and I decided it was time to propose. We went to New York City that day and arrived in Central Park. We went on the rowboats at the boathouse and rowed onto the lake, where the famous Bow Bridge was. When the time was right, I pulled out the ring, popped the question, and she said yes. The rest is history, and here we are gathered today. I thank you, Christine, for saying yes, for having an interest in me despite your first impressions, and for being the most amazing girlfriend, fiancé, and now wife. You look beautiful today. That isn't different from any other day. When we first started talking and then dating, whenever you would catch the clock at 11:11, you would text me and ask me to make a wish. Whenever we would go to the casino, you would pull out a few coins and ask me to make a wish before throwing the coins into the water. You always asked me what my wish was. Sometimes I told you and sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I was hoping I would win the jackpot, to be honest. A lot of my wishes had to do with you. How I had hoped our relationship would turn into something bigger, how we would end up living a long life together, and so forth. It's not 11:11 right now, and we aren't at the casino getting ready to throw coins in the water. But today, on November 30th, my wish now and every day for the rest of our lives is to live as happy as 2 can possibly be, to grow old together, to love each other unconditionally, to be successful in life, and to make you the happiest wife that you could possibly be. I am so excited to spend the rest of my life with you, and I know that nothing will ever stop us or get between us. This is just the beginning. We have a long life to live, and there isn't anyone in this world that I'd rather spend it with you.